To you, Busisiwe.
A very good morning, Desiree. It's a particularly good morning for the Eastern Cape, increasing with 5.9 to 76.9 from 70.6 in 2018. And I guess that they've been wanting to climb up to 70. Last year they did, and now they are climbing up even further. But to talk to us about the results more, I'm joined by the Education HOD, Themba Kojana. HOD, thank you so much for your time. The Eastern Cape, the most improved province. I'm sure you must be happy.
Well, it's a more sustained building blocks for growth, and I think the plan is working.
Let's talk about the year it was, 2019.
It was a year that was, I could say that there was a stability in the province in various areas of operation from the school level, and you could see the enthusiasm of learners and teachers. I've never seen that the fact that learners, even on Saturdays, they were in class. I mean, anyone who was driving across the streets of the Eastern Cape would see learners being dedicated. I think the theme that drove the aspirations of our learners, even parents, was driven by a fact that we said that they must be disciplined. We said that they must be disciplined, they must be engaged, and hardworking, and above all, we said that they must be ambitious. They must drive their goals. And you could see that energy coming out from our learners. And I think the teachers were just fantastic this year. There's something happening in our schools.
And for years, the province struggled to climb up from the bottom of the tail. What actually worked? Because these Saturday classes, the camping classes, the winter classes, you've been having them over the years. But what is it that worked this time around?
As I say, that what has worked this time around is a collaborative framework, and as well as a discipline that goes with it. Remember that when you talk about collaboration framework, sometimes you as a sector, you think inwardly. But this time around, we had to have an engagement with unions, and we agreed on the vision to collaborate on learner performance. And we've achieved that. That is the difference. We worked with a non-governmental organization, and we worked also with the business sector in this regard. But above all, I think we've improved on monitoring what is happening in our classrooms.
And not only have you improved your pass mark, but you've also improved the number of bachelors.
You'll recall that last year, I think we're the most improved province in terms of the bachelors, especially for Quintile 1 to Quintile 3 schools in the province. That is the poor of the poorest, giving us bachelors nationally. So that this improvement on the bachelors is something that we have been sustaining, especially from the rural schools of our province.
And in that, you are still dealing with the most rural province, the Eastern Cape, with infrastructure backlog, sanitation, the issue of toilets, equal education, advocating that there be toilets that are built, infrastructure, learners that are still learning in infrastructure, in classrooms that are not of good infrastructure. Perhaps more needs to be done in that aspect. Any plans?
Beautiful plans indeed. You could see that the president of the country has come in with the SAFE project. Those projects are ongoing. They're happening. Remember that Eastern Cape, by its nature and by its design, infrastructure is highly political. You could see where historically there's been better infrastructure, and where historically there has been bad infrastructure. It's not as if government is standing still. Fortunately, we're working with equal education, and we're putting plans with equal education. We're demonstrating with them progress, and they can see what is it that we are doing and what is it that we ought to do differently. So we are, as I said, we are using the word collaboration. We are working with equal education, and they can be able to point the areas that we need to focus on instead of just us throwing stones. Infrastructure is critical. It's critical. That is why there's a focused attention on us improving the dignity where our children live.
And speaking of the children, next week schools will open, but the issue of scholar transport still remains a challenge.
Well, you must remember this is why we are talking about the vastness of our province. It's not as if government does not provide scholar transport. It is, right? So it is that area of focus that we'll be concentrating on. So it's not something that we are not really concentrating on. Like you could sense that if the policy says 5 kilometers, but people will talk about the nature of the rurality, the mountainous areas, forest and the rivers, all those things were taken into consideration. You will recall that the president was here in the province and talked about an integrated approach, okay? An integrated approach into service delivery, where in education, whereas you're talking about the classrooms, what would be the function of other departments? The roads to clinics, the roads to schools, that needs an integrated plan. Hence he launched in this province the district development model. He did that to say, we as a country, if we want to move forward, let's work in an integrated way.
And lastly, Mr. Kojana, when we talk about the integrated approach, we have to also talk about the 9 viable schools. Have we made progress or strides in trying to convince communities where they have very small numbers and yet they don't want to close down their schools?
This is a big challenge of our province. There are those schools, because of the nature where there is because of distance also from this area to another area, we call those standalones. This is not about closure of schools. No. It's about rationalization of schools, a realignment of schools. That will make us to move better moving forward. That is a program that we have dedicated ourselves. We have been moving to communities. We are moving with regard to this thing because you can imagine, I went to a school where there were few learners, and teachers were complaining to say, it is not possible to really teach in this particular environment, right? Because there are few learners in the school, and also there are issues of that it is difficult to provide all learning areas that they ought to get. So we're doing a disfavor. And I think our communities are beginning to understand that rationale, that we needed to. We don't want to simply impose this. We want to take our communities along to say, this is to the best interest of the child to get the best education ever.
Mr. Kojana, thank you so much for your time and congratulations to you and the department, Themba Kojana, the HOD of the Education Department in the Eastern Cape. Well, Desiree, I've never seen such smiles from officials in the Eastern Cape. Really, this is a year where they are reaping the fruits of their work. I know the late MEC Mandla Makupula spoke about a 5-year turnaround strategy, and I guess now all that is the work that has been put on in the last 5 years to actually reap these fruits. So we'll be keeping you up to date. And right now I know the briefing is about to start where the MEC of Education, Mr. Gade, will be getting into detail as to the year of 2019, the class of 2019, the districts that performed and the schools, the challenges and the successes they've accounted in the year 2019. So we'll be going in there now and we'll keep you updated as soon as that briefing comes to an end. Desiree.
Busisiwe Jemsana-Mantashe there, taking us into the second hour of the show.